So good morning to all of you. So I welcome you all again on the fourth day of this FDP on Internet of Things, sponsored by Atal Academy AICT. So we are moving toward the first session of today's, that is overall 10th session of this FDP. And we have again with us Professor D.N. Sonamane sir from College of Engineering, Pune. So as we have already gone through a session with sir, so I think no need to introduce sir again. So we welcome you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Naman. Good morning. So let me know when to start. I'm seeing like there is a 18 to 20
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
participants.
We'll just wait for 2 more minutes, then we will start, sir.
Okay. No
Yes.
problem. How is your university has been open or still
No, sir. All the classes are going on in online mode only.
online mode? But what
Yes.
about the practicals?
The new entrants are, sir, in the process of getting admitted. So I think their classes will be from November onwards, I think.
Okay. For what about the practicals?
Sir, final year practical exams are going on. Final year students have came and their exams already been over, and now their BTech project and their practical exams are going on.
Yeah, but have they performed the practicals coming in because they are not visited physically, no? So they
Yeah,
what about
exactly. So the thing is that they have completed their project at their own, and the labs they have not conducted. So there is some formality going on. So
Mhm.
that is the thing, sir.
You have not used virtual labs for that?
Sir, we have, but not for all the subjects. We have for few subjects. We are following virtual lab concept, sir.
Yeah, that's really helpful in this situation, no?
Exactly, sir. We are in the process of getting a center for virtual lab, sir.
Okay, great,
Yes,
great.
sir. So, sir, I think we can start now as the people are joining. So, I think we should start, sir.
Yeah, they will join. No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naman.
Thank,
I hope the Tuesday I have given one talk on embedded system design for IoT applications. That talk was, I'm audible, right, Naman?
yes, sir. You are. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that talk was specifically embedded systems, design concepts, design challenges, and what are the opportunities for the IoT, where the future of the IoT. Today, I'm going to talk something about the embedded systems only, but the reconfigurable computing. So that is the FPGAs, and so what exactly reconfigurable computing? When to go for FPGA based design, when to go for ASIC design, when to go for microcontroller prototyping, and if we really want to go for FPGA based design, so the reconfigurable computing is the platform where the FPGA is the core embedded component. And then what are the different tools are available, what exactly FPGA means. So I know FPGAs are very popular to everyone, but still some faculty, some participants wants to know about little bit about more on FPGA tools and FPGA design criteria. So this particular session will be for that purpose only. So please feel free to talk in between also if you have any queries, if you have any doubts. So I'll be very happy to give the answer of your query.
So sorry to bother you, but I've not allowed them to unmute themselves, so they can write in the chat box.
Okay, okay, no problem, no
Yes.
problem. Yeah, no problem. So you can in the chat box in between, so that Naman, if you are coordinating, so in between also, if someone having the query or question, please stop me and let me know.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Because
Definitely. If anyone will write any query in the chat box, then I will definitely tell you. Sir.
it's more appropriate to answer there only rather than finishing the lecture, finishing the talk, and again going back to that slide.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'll be happy to answer there only if any doubts are there available.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Sir.
So good morning to all of you. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, so this is visible, right, Naman?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is today's talk is embedded system design using FPGAs. Yeah, I will go through like today's agenda. Again, very quickly, I already told you what is embedded system. So just one or two slides on, again, because to create the context of this talk, I'll just explain to you what exactly again embedded systems. Then we'll directly move to the reconfigurable computing. So reconfigurable computing (RC) is today's computing age, today's computing area. So most of the people are preferring to go for the reconfigurable computing, even for little bit complicated application, maybe video processing, image processing, or little bit control algorithm, which is complex control algorithm to execute, or maybe two, three complicated tasks to be executed parallelly. So the reconfigurable computing is get preferred. I will let you know what exactly reconfigurable computing, the advantages of reconfigurable computing over microcontroller based design. Then field programmable gate arrays, FPGAs, those are the central part of reconfigurable computing. We will go through exactly what is FPGAs, what are the different types of FPGAs, what are different vendors of FPGAs are available, and we should think of FPGA like a microcontroller. Now the days has gone where FPGA was very special computing device. Today FPGAs are available very commonly, low cost. The tools are also available very easily. So let us explore FPGA also like another microcontroller and take the advantage of this technology. Some currently available CAD tools, uh, those are using for FPGA based design and their resources and some references. So this is the today's agenda of the talk. Let us move to again the embedded system. So embedded systems, I already have given little bit exploration on Tuesday what exactly embedded system means. Again, I'm showing the same slide. Don't be see like that. Why? Because embedded systems are computing systems, just general purpose, except general purpose computer, all computing systems are embedded systems. Because reconfigurable computing or FPGA based design also a embedded system. That's why this slide come. It's not something new. It's not something new, but only I'm changing the heart of computing, whether microcontroller or FPGA. Then people might be thinking of biggest question will become in everybody's mind. Then why not microcontroller? Why not FPGA? And when to go for FPGA rather? Suppose I am designing one application, can I go directly on FPGA? I will try to give the answer of that question through this presentation. Okay, so this is a embedded system definition that we have seen, which is engineering artifact involving computation that is subject to physical constraint. Both now physical constraint comes to be the reaction constraints and execution constraints. We should be always keep in mind that embedded systems are resource constraint. Resource constraint means it's not, we are comparing with your general purpose computing system or maybe laptop or computer, where you have a lot of memory. Even RAM is around 16 GB, 32 GB RAM, and you have 1 terabyte of hard disk. So the memory wise, infinite. Even processing power is infinite. So comparing to this kind of system, all embedded systems are resource constrained. You have memory of KBs, maximum MBs. Your clock size goes in terms of 100 to 100 megahertz. A 32-bit is the maximum processor number of bits are available. High-end microcontroller you can talk about. So everything is limited. But performance-wise, we want the same performance. So that's why we call as the embedded systems are resource constrained embedded system, resource constraint thing. And there are two types of constraints are always there: reaction constraints and execution constraints. The reaction constraint means behavioral requirement, deadline, throughput, and jitter. We want behavioral requirement, it should be work in real time, as well as deadlines are there. Each and every task that is executing in embedded systems, every task has certain deadlines. There is no infinite time that task is executing, right? And throughput, again, we want maximum instructions to be executed per cycle, maximum instruction to be executed per second. So everybody is expecting more throughput and jitter. Parallelly, we have the execution constraint. Implementation requirements put bounds on available processor speed, power, memory, and hardware failure rates, everything like that. So processor speed, because of limited clock speed. Power, again, most of the embedded systems are very requirement is a power sensitive, battery operated kind of. Of course, memory and hardware failure. These are the things. And we as a designer has to go to design everything along with these constraints. So constraints are the integral part of every embedded system. The key to embedded system design is now to obtain desired functionality under both kind of constraints. Best example, I will always give the mobile phone. So mobile phone is the best example of high-end embedded system where both constraints are there. Space constraint, the size of mobile phone is not like a laptop. It is limited, right? But everything fit inside it, like is functional like your laptop, functional like your computer, right? So that's the key in design of embedded system, that we have to be execute, we have to be performed in both type of constraints. That's why all embedded systems are application specific, single function, and application is known priority. So I already explained to you efficiency is the paramount importance for that, and typical design to meet the real-time constraints. So these are the design approaches, combined hardware software approach. So that day also I have shown this slide because I am taking from these slides onward the co-processor approach. A specific processor with general purpose processor like DSP, graphic processor, hardware accelerator, and FPGAs. So today's embedded systems are not like because everyone requirement has increased. Every month, every human being wants my embedded system have a lot of features. Even though your Fitband, you see there is a cost is hardly normal Fitband cost is 2,000, 3,000 rupees. But what do you expect from that? You expect Bluetooth, you expect my WhatsApp should be seen there, you expect my email should be seen there, you expect lot many things, even touch screen, right? So alarm should be there. You wants everything should be inside that small computing device. Then how it is possible? Another thing is like your TV, smart TV. Smart TV, you want everything should be in the TV, right? Game should be played simultaneously. You want TV should be watched. Everybody expect why should not have four screen inside one screen so that one person can watch the TV, another person can watch another channel, another person can play game simultaneously. All things should be happen together. My requirement is increasing. Why should not? and this is very much possible. So to meet such requirement, there should be not only single processor, but there's a graphic processor, hardware accelerator, some math processor, and of course FPGAs. So all should be work together. Definitely, they can meet the requirement of what user is expecting. So in the final product, ASIC is preferred that we have seen, and in order to design near optimal before selecting final chip. These are the performance index everybody has to be followed. Cost, performance, power, energy, flexibility, maintainability, size, and time to market. So these performance indices we have seen, every embedded system should have these performance indices. And now what are the design challenges everybody is looking for? Forget about we are now teacher, forget about we are teaching to the students. Think about we are the entrepreneur. Now we want to design a product. So when you are thinking of designing a product, when you want to become an entrepreneur, then uh, our main challenge is like choice of processor. Suppose you finalize one product, maybe the temperature scanner or Fitband or anything. Once you finalize that one product, biggest question comes to the choice of processor. Which microcontroller I need to be select? The survey of optimal processor to fit for a product. So I have shown you that waterfall model for the design. Then of course you analyze the requirement, you analyze the user requirement, specifications of the product. Then choice of processor, because n number of processors are available, n number of microcontrollers are available. I had to pick up one which is going to be fit, perfect for my application. Then short product lifetime, tight project development schedule. Of course, every product has very specific lifetime. If I have started designing the product and 2 years down the line, suppose I'm putting the product in the market, probably the lifetime of that product is itself is a dying in design phase only. Even you design the product, after 2 years, that product is going to be absolute. We have to be keep in mind. So short product lifetime, this is important thing. And increase in complexity. Today, once you design the product, temperature scanner or something like that, tomorrow the same customer is going to ask you, why not you put the Bluetooth connectivity so that I can interface that product with my mobile phone and I can see how many persons have come to my gate and how many persons you have scanned today. So this is again requirement, complexity increasing. So designer has a lot of challenges while designing the embedded system. So we always keep in mind. So this is going to be happen. So and special purpose hardware software tools, so relying on multiple vendors. Again, not only one microcontroller, there are maybe ADC are using that is from Texas Instrument, microcontroller is from ST microcontroller, maybe your amplifiers and all these things from analog device. So suppose all these hardware if you design, then you have to rely on multiple vendors. You have to rely on multiple vendors. They are going to supply the chips to you to make your final product. So these are the key design challenges, and we should be always think of while designing the product that we are going to face the challenges, and we should be find out the solution for these challenges. So this is the slide that will show you what are the trade-off design today. So when user requirement is increasing parallelly, I might have shown to that slide what is the Shannon's law and Moore's law, how it is creating the delta. What this exactly slide shows to you, this is general purpose processor, then application specific set processor that we call as ASICs, microcontrollers or DSPs, then comes to programmable hardware FPGAs and application specific integrated circuits, ASICs. So generally these four to five types of computing platforms get used in embedded system design. I have put this computing platform in a way like flexibility of the design and performance and power efficiency. So if you look for flexibility of the design, this is down arrow. Down arrow indicates that this is a very less flexible application specific integrated circuits. ASICs are less flexible because ASICs are prefabricated hardware. It means that your requirement has freeze, and based on your requirement, the manufacturer has designed the best IC for you. So it's less flexible. Take a, if you want to experience this, put a microcontroller from your washing machine and now put it into the microwave oven. Is going to work? Definitely not, because the microcontroller ASIC of that microcontroller in washing machine is typically for that application, washing machine. This is not general purpose computer. This is not general purpose microcontroller. That microcontroller may be the based on architecture of 8-bit Intel architecture, or maybe the AVR architecture. Architecture is common, but the peripheral requirement, processing requirement is freeze, and that's why that ASIC is manufactured, because it's a mass production. ASICs is less flexible. On the contrary, if you see for general purpose processor are very flexible in design. They're very flexible, like your prototyping microcontroller, peak microcontroller, 18 series microcontroller, 8051. What are the microcontrollers? What you are going to be select? The general purpose processor. They are very, very flexible. They're very, very flexible in the design. Uh, on the contrary, your ASICs are very, very tightly flexible. But if you see the performance and power efficiency, then ASICs are not power efficient in that way, while the general purpose processors are power efficient, and performance wise they are better performance, because this performance of ASICs are limited for particular application. That's why in between choice, if you see the in between choice is a field programmable gate arrays, FPGAs. FPGA has compromise flexibility as well as power performance. So if you see the solution, FPGA will always have the compromise solution, and it balance between the flexibility as well as power and performance. Okay, now these are the three hardwares. What are the advantage, disadvantage of everyone having? So this is ASIC, reconfigure computing FPGA, and software program processor GPP. So these are the three things I have kept like this. If you see, the advantage of ASIC is very high performance and efficient, but disadvantage is not flexible, right? It's not flexible. Then advantage of software programmables is very flexible, but performance can suffer if clock is not fast, right? So that's why in between choice you see the fills the gap between hardware and software, much higher performance than software and high level of flexibility than hardware. That's why now today why people are moving towards FPGA based design, because they are getting everything. It's not a tied architecture, it's not a predefined architecture, it's not a fixed architecture, as well as you can choose the performance as per the application, and it is off the shelf, the performance you can change. So we will come across the next slides what exactly the reconfigurable computing. So that's why design trends today is changing. So 5 years down the line, what people are preferring the design trends. Everybody wants to design the product. Simply they are picking the microcontroller off the shelf microcontroller, like the peak microcontroller, ST microcontroller, and trying to design your product. But today people are thinking something beyond of that. So life cycle of embedded product becoming increasingly smaller, replacing outdated products leads to time to market. So because of time to market becoming very crucial, as well as complexity of embedded systems are rapidly increasing, that demands more complex algorithm to be run on one processor, one embedded microcontrollers, as well as consumer demands are increasing from more functionality and usability. Of course, consumer demands are also increasing. There exists complexity gap between application requirement and capabilities of current silicon technology. And that's why I have shown that slide between Moore's law and Shannon's law. So Moore's law and Shannon's law, now the gap between complexity and silicon technology, I mean algorithm complexity and silicon technology is widening, and there is a contemporary solution for this. That's why this slide I have shown that day. So this is widening, and that's why the distributed processing is the only way to go, and the contemporary FPGA is the solution for this. And that's why people are now thinking of why not go for reconfigurable computing. So ASIC usage of ASIC is now day by day decreasing. People are not going for the ASIC. People are not going for off-the-shelf processor, like people are thinking for just to go for reconfigure computing and the FPGAs. So this necessitates us to go for a reconfigure computing to use in our embedded hardware. Let us understand. I hope you now understood why we want to go for reconfigure computing. Why not the ASICs? Why not the off-the-shelf processor? So the reconfigurable computing, which is which originates in the late 1980s. It is not that old. 1980s means around 20-22 years before. Basically, the reconfigurable computing concept has started, and the first RC were built by the IDA Supercomputing Research Center in 1994 in the USA and the DEC Paris Research Lab. The first RC, which is experimented and executed like in 1994, where programmable logic devices are used to accelerate the computation or applications. The FPGAs, at that time PLDs were used, not FPGAs were there. Initially it was the PLDs, then CPLDs, programmable logic devices, then CPLDs were popular, and now the FPGAs are becoming popular. And maybe you will be surprised where the FPGAs are, today's FPGAs are, what exactly the features they are having. So by exploiting the parallelism at different levels, bit level parallelism, instruction level parallelism, even architecture level parallelism are also in these programmable logic devices. So in which algorithms are implemented as a temporarily and specially ordered set of very complex tasks. Depending upon your task, algorithms are implemented. You will understood when you are writing any embedded program using any IDE or any development tools, then probably we are using C or C++ language. And all these languages are very structured language. They execute sequentially. Like you want to do the two things parallelly. Like I want to watch continuously what is going to be happen with the switches, those are connected parallelly. I want to display something. So these two things you want to do parallelly. I want to again scan the ADC. So 2-3 things you want to do parallelly. None of the microcontroller you can execute this parallelly. You have to go sequentially. And the ADC sample time, even though ADC sample very fast, but because of this sequential execution, your sample time is unnecessarily increasing because of adding the execution time of your all the instructions. This is just because of all the C or C++ language that executes code sequentially. This is not possible, parallel execution. But if you go for reconfigurable computing or FPGAs to use, then yes, it's very much possible you can do this parallelly. And you can achieve the real-time performance in true sense. So that's why the temporary and special order set of complex task to execution. And FPGAs form the processor building blocks of reconfigured computing. So in the reconfigured computing, FPGAs or CPLDs, and nowadays nobody uses CPLDs, those are from the processor building block inside the reconfigured computing. This is a diagram of reconfigured computing. Then you might have a question, only FPGAs get used there? No, not only FPGAs, but FPGAs are used along with some other microcontrollers, some other ASICs. Yes, they are using ASICs, they are using microcontrollers, they are using DSP processors. On the top of that, they're using FPGAs. Then why this is so? Why this is so kind of architecture? Because my algorithm is so complex. The best example is TV. All the TV, smart TV has FPGAs. Without FPGAs, cannot possible to do all this simultaneously, right? Because if you look the TV screen, LED TV, so it's a n by n array LEDs are connected parallelly, and you are displaying your image on that LED or LCD. So this is only possible because of everything executing in parallelly. That's why you can find the at a stretch images get displayed. But the image display time is so fast. Basically, it is not displaying simultaneously. It is displaying sequentially, the row by row like that. But the display time is so fast because our time constant, our human eye of persistence is 10 milliseconds, and everything happens in a lower than 10 millisecond time. That's why you can visualize. Oh yes, you can visualize the TV, and it's a displaying as a stationary, and you find that okay, yes, it's not the sequential displaying. Okay, so this is because of FPGA that executes the task so fast, and that's why it's possible to even your signboard, sign displays, those are available on the road where a lot of LEDs are there. It displays so fast you cannot visualize that differentiation. So this reconfigurable computing, this is the diagram for reconfigurable computing. What's there? There are the GPPs, R6 are also there, but they are communicating with your FPGA. So FPGA are formed as a main computation platform there, where the complex algorithms are executed on FPGA. And peripheral data handling part, like you want to take the data in and out, not the complex algorithm executing, just in out data for that GPP or ASIC get used. But when actual control algorithm or processing algorithms executed, that is executed on FPGA. So FPGA is not only the computing device, but along with the FPGA, there are 3-4 computing devices are there. Sometimes they are using GPPs, graphical processors, graphical accelerators. Okay, yeah. If you want to display the high performance graphics, they are using NVIDIA graphic accelerators. If you want to do some mathematical operations, very complex mathematical operations, they are using some math processor in combination with FPGA. Then what is to be executed on FPGA? What is to be executed on GPP? What is to be executed on ASICs? All these task partitioning or performance analyzing, it is done before the application to be executed. So once the task partitioning is done, then the designer knows which is the complex task that needs to be executed parallelly, and that is executed on FPGAs. So this is the way your reconfigurable computing or RC is performing. Let us take this example of this. I want to execute this spatial versus temporal computing, how it works. Y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. See, the temporal processor, basically this is not ASIC, this is FPGA, actually spatial is a FPGA. So this will be happen ax square, what to be done in a parallel. So these two operations are done in parallel, because you could not do all these three operations in parallel. Basically these two operations in parallel, these operations in parallel, and all the addition will be happen together. But if you see the general purpose processor, everything happens sequentially. This is done, then this is done, then next this is done, and finally your addition is done. So the level of parallelism is only possible if you go for the FPGAs. The perspective of meaning of spatial and temporal execution is like cluster of microprocessor. Temporal function runs with one processor. Spatial function spread across many microprocessors. In temporal, again, using general purpose processor, or spatial using dedicated ASICs or maybe the FPGAs. And temporal using same logic resources for multiple functions. In spatial, parallelizing and pipelining function across the FPGA. What they are executing in ASICs, you can do in parallelizing and pipelining way in FPGA, that is called as a spatial functions or spatial executions. So coupling approaches for reconfigured hardware, like RH, reconfigurable hardware can be grouped or coupled together with the GPPs as a tight coupling called as a functional unit. Then as a co-processor, can be act as a co-processor. I just told you, not only single FPGA is executing the task, but it is along with the other things. So it may act as a co-processor, may act as an attached processing unit, additional processing unit, or standalone processing unit, that is called loosely coupled. So either loosely coupled or tightly coupled. See, this is different levels of coupling. This is loosely coupled standalone processing unit. I mean, there is only one FPGA, nothing is there. This is standalone processing unit. But it is tightly coupled, then there are co-processor, then another attached processing units, different memory, and then this is a FPGA. Okay, so FPGA will act as a one functional unit along with other functional units, co-processor. Why you require co-processor? Why you require? Because you could not load FPGA to do everything. If you load FPGA to do everything, probably overall performance will be get reduced. So what is the main objective to use FPGA? The task that you want to perform parallelly, which is not possible using DSPs or microcontroller, that task I will be allowed to perform in FPGA. But suppose I just want to sense the keys or LED, I want to glow LED, I want to display on LCD. So these kind of activities where the IOs are involved, simple data handling, input output data handling. I would not engage my FPGA for such kind of activities. Rather, I will coordinate with the general purpose processors, and FPGA will be handling the main complex algorithm. So this is approach is which called a tightly coupled approach. That's not partitioning. Everybody please understand, if you are working on high performance computing and if you are executing very complex algorithms for your PhD or for your research, then please work on the partitioning first of all. So what exactly partitioning means? So in simulation, you work on full algorithm, then you realize, suppose my algorithm has different steps like input output data handling, then maybe the complex algorithm, complex task performing. Then in complex task performing, there are, let's say, filters, filtering, maybe you can say the linear equation solving, multiple non-linear equation solving, maybe your classification algorithm. There are so many algorithms are there. And then again, display, user interface. So such kind of complete task, then you see where exactly time requirement is more, which task you want to perform parallel so that you will get better performance. This is called as a partitioning and profiling. So the partitioning is grouping of specific set of operation, either hardware or software, and the group assigned while software executed sequentially. So this partitioning will decide to you, and profiling will decide to you what to be performed, what to be performed on software, what to be performed on hardware, and what to be performed on general purpose processor, and what to be performed on FPGAs. So that motivate towards to go towards the learning of FPGA as well. So the achieve performance and trade-off by moving software bottlenecks to hardware. Some task you need to say, okay, I will dedicate to your hardware. Like you want to do some amplification, probably go with the hardware amplifier, not do something in a software again. Use hardware to meet time and area constraints. Again, not possible to put everything on software in a limited resources. So some code more appropriate sequential implementation, which achieves the flexibility. And sometimes you can go for sequential by using general purpose processor, and some complex algorithms go with the FPGAs. So this is the approach, hardware software design approach. Then the profiling and partitioning will exactly give to that 90% of, suppose 10 millisecond is my total time of execution. Out of that, 90% time is going in some of the algorithm to execute, image processing algorithm to execute, then execute that algorithm on FPGA and extract maximum level of parallelism so that the 10 millisecond can be comes down to 4 millisecond, 5 millisecond. So the partitioning and profiling, what will be give to you? The speed ups, you are 2 times or 10 times typically. So if you do proper way of partitioning and profiling, your application will speed up 2 times or 10 times. More potential than dynamic software optimization. There are software optimizations are available, but even going for this approach is very good, right? Co-processor approach. As well as energy reduction will go for 5 to 50% typically. Yeah, we also have experience. So I am working in model predictive control algorithms. So that algorithms were executing on FPGAs. You can find my research papers on that. So we are doing this kind of thing. We are profiling. So putting the complex algorithm like linear solving. Linear solve takes major time. So doing linear solve on FPGA, but other input output handling on some other processors. That's why software, processor and ASIC and FPGA, this will be combined together. That's called the profiler. So profiling, to profile an application means to collect runtime information of application during execution, and profiling allows you to learn where your program spends more time and which function called which other function while it was executing. So that definitely will give to you software profiling, that which functions to be executed parallel, which functions should be wait and execute in sequential. This information can show you which piece of your program can slower than you expected. And this will help you rewriting your code to make your program execute much faster, as well as moving these functions, some of the functions to the dedicated hardware. Don't try to everything put it into the software. Sometimes there are dedicated hardwares are available. Best example is USB interface. most of the people will try to write the USB code. There are some D plus, D minus lines are even available, but sometimes there are dedicated chips are available for USB. And why not communicate that USB chip with your serial and let that dedicated chip should handle that task instead of writing the USB device driver on your microcontroller or in your FPGAs. Like that, there are dedicated hardwares are available. Sometimes you have to be upload the task, upload the applications on dedicated hardware. Don't try to put everything on software. This is just profiling and partitioning as well. Okay. So benefits of partitioning is goes to minimizing computational across the bus, communication across the bus, and allows the parallelism, both hardware and processor operating concurrently. Yeah, in that case, hardware and processor both operates concurrently, and that will leads to one level of parallelism. And balancing your load, of course, near peak performance utilization at all times. And this is the applicability of RC, where the reconfigurable computing get used in the next generation wireless devices, all routers, your 3G, 4G, the network routers, where the RC get used, FPGAs get used, network processing, image processing applications for smart car collision avoiding systems, smart traffic pilots, robotics, fast material inspection, the visual inspection of your product. Basically this is used for the inspection line in the industry, where the quality control is based on the image processing. Imagine if you use any microcontroller, you are not going to be achieved. If you see the conveyor belt where your product is going and you want to run time check the quality of your product, 5 milliseconds is the only time is allowed to you to take a call on a particular product is coming to the in front of your camera. And during that 5 millisecond time, you have to be take a call whether product is go or no go kind of thing. This is called as the image processing or vision processing kind of application. And if 5 millisecond time, take the image, compare with your standard image, extract the features, compare the features, and you take a call whether go or no go kind of thing. And 5 millisecond time, because my conveyor speed is fixed. If you miss that 5 millisecond time by the 10 millisecond, obviously every two bottles, one bottle will faulty. And that's the way your real processing comes in picture. So the FPGAs and these kind of solutions are only possible to do all these things. None of the even high-end microcontroller, high-end DSP processor can't do, because everything executes sequentially and your 5 milliseconds is the time of your all the operations to be performed. Not possible at all. So such kind of applications where reconfigure computing get used. Signal processing, speech processing, software radio, encryption, communication switching. We imagine most of the high-end applications where the reconfigure computing and FPGAs are the only solutions. I'm telling not the only solution, contemporary solution, no other solution for this. So summary for this reconfigure computing comes to be like hardware software co-design is becoming the common design methodology for building the systems. And it allows a system to be designed quickly, standardized parts, while special purpose hardware is used for time critical portions of the system. Yeah. And most of FPGA manufacturer vendors provide CAD tools to implement soft cores of hardware co-designs. And nowadays in FPGAs are there is soft cores are also coming, like a part of the FPGA is the ASIC soft core. Yeah, this trend is increasing day by day. So then issues are how to partition the system, communication overhead, how to upload the communication overhead, and how to explore the parallelism, and of course the reconfigurability. Now let us understand this is the advantage of RH, reconfigurable hardware, reconfigurable computing, and we know the FPGA can only the solution for this. I hope you guys know about the FPGAs. I am just going a little bit about giving some introduction to you what exactly FPGA, because everybody knows what microcontrollers, even people are knowing about FPGAs, but still if you want to know more about FPGAs, let me explain to you what exactly FPGAs. FPGAs have the today's advanced version or extended version of PLDs and CPLDs, where basic building blocks are flip-flop. Flip-flop, it is used for as a memory, 1 bit of memory. So 1 bit of memory, if you see, imagine one flip-flop, and if it is a millions of flip-flop, you can store millions bits of information. That's it. And these flip-flops are grouped together, form a specific structure inside it. There is no specific architecture. I'm talking about only structure. Structure means the way it is arranged. But architecture means it is a specific building blocks, predefined building blocks. Nothing is there in architecture point of view. So only the group of flip-flops are arranged in a specific structure. So field programmable gate arrays are prefabricated silicon devices that can be electrically programmed to become almost any kind of circuit. This sentence is very important. Today, if you want 10 timers in FPGA, you can execute 10 timers because your application requirement is 10 timers. When that application is over, you want the same FPGA have only 2 timers but 10 counters. Just reprogram it accordingly, 2 timers and 10 counters. This is not possible in microcontroller where predefined architecture. 18051 has 2 timers, you have to use 2 timers. Somebody wants to use 3 timers, change that microcontroller, you have to take another microcontroller. This is not the case with FPGA. Have predefined architecture. You can create your own architecture as per the need. That's why it's called as a reconfigurability is the major advantage there. Informally, an FPGA can be thought of as a blank slate on which digital circuit can be configured. It is a blank slate, only the flip-flops, just structure of the flip-flops arranged in a specific way, like that. This is a blank slate. And after the configuration, this will be like this, okay? So now you compare this slate with the microcontroller or DSP or any other ASICs or any other general purpose processor where everything is predefined. Microcontroller cannot be off the shelf pre-configured. It is a pre-configured. Every microcontroller has specific features. FPGA don't have features. FPGA has features like only defines in terms of memory, how much is the memory capacity and how these memories are arranged in this way. Then configurability is up to the designer's purview. So in short, an FPGA provides programmable hardware to the embedded system developer, right? So FPGA provides the programmable hardware, and this is a new concept. Might be you are aware about. Programmable hardware means you can program your hardware, you can reprogram your hardware, you can configure your hardware, you can reconfigure your hardware. So that's the FPGA, and this is architecture. Okay, so this is generic architecture of FPGA. This is programmable interconnects, which is connecting to your building blocks. This is programmable logic blocks. Single logic block is a flip-flop. Then flip-flop, slowly flip-flop will be going to the CLBs, combinational logic blocks, then LUTs, lookup tables, then there's a VRAMs. So such kind of a way how they are grouped together so that when you download your code bitstream file, then probably they give in terms of the memory utilizations like group of VRAMs, group of LUTs, group of SRAM like that. You know? The first static memory based FPGA, commonly called as SRAM based FPGA, was proposed by Wallstrom in 1967. So even RC in 1980s, but the FPGAs has before that RC comes in picture in 1967. Later on, the first commercialized modern era FPGA was introduced by Xilinx in 1984. So Xilinx was the pioneer in FPGA design. So in 1984, Xilinx comes to the first commercial modern era FPGAs. Then from the first FPGA, which contains 64 CLBs, that's why I told you, 64 CLBs with combination logic blocks. And if you go to the specific data sheet of that FPGA, then they are written 1 CLB is equal to how many flip-flops. So 1 CLB is how many inputs and output CLBs is equal to how much memory. So then you can say 64 multiplied by that memory. That is a CLB's memory, combination logic block memory. Then 58 IOs. There are also IOs, how many data it can handle. And today's FPGA contain approximately 3 330,000 logic blocks, around 1100 IOs. So this is Altera's information. This may be the very old information. Today's FPGA is more than that. Again, if you see the Xilinx FPGAs, Z board or Spartan family or Vertex family, you are getting more on this one. Okay. This is minimum, I could say. Three FPGA technologies are very famous. SRAM based FPGA technology, generally Xilinx and Altera uses SRAM based technology. Flash based and based technology, where Actel and Cypress are preferred. They're using uh, flash based technologies, Actel and Cypress. This what I was talking, CLB structure, combination logic block structure. So combination logic block CLBs, where you can say CLB contains two slices. Each slice contains two 4-input lookup table, carry and control logic, and two registers. See how the hierarchy of CLBs, LUTs, and register, and there are three state buffers associated with each CLBs that can be accessed by all the output of CLBs, right? So this is the way how the basic building block flip-flops is grouped together and how they name as a CLBs and LUTs. Each slice contains two set of 4-input lookup table, any 4-input logic function, 16-bit by 1-bit RAM, 16-bit by shift registers. So carry and control, fast arithmetic logic, multiplier logic, multiplexer logic, and again storage element like latch or flip-flop. So such kind of, this is the kind of architecture. This is typically your Xilinx architecture. Altera may have something else. And this is the LA2 structure, how the lookup table contains basic NAND gate or NOT gate. And this is structure of block RAM. So most efficient memory implementation, dedicated block RAMs are available. Ideally for most memory requirement, 4 to 14 memory blocks are available and 4096 bits per block. See, finally it boils down to the number of bits, 4096 bits per block, and there are 4 to 14 memory blocks. If you multiply by this, 4096 comes to 4 kilobytes, and 4 multiplied by 14 kilobytes of memory is for the block RAM. So when you download your code and when you synthesize it, then it gives a synthesized result in terms of how many block RAM get used, how many LUTs get used, how many slices get used, and in the data sheet you see the block RAMs, how much memory bits per block RAM, each block. Accordingly, eventually you can calculate total algorithm memory is this much. There are input-output blocks also, that's called IOB. So IOB provides interface between package pins and combination logic blocks. So each IOB can work as a unidirectional or bidirectional. Almost we know, everyone knows that there are input-output also for microcontrollers, as well as input-output pins are also for FPGAs, and all the pins are bidirectional. It's an input as well as output. Parallelly, they have some voltage and current specifications. Generally, 1.2 volt or 3.3 volt is the specified voltage for the FPGAs. Outputs can be forced into the high impedance. Inputs and outputs can be registered as advice for high performance IOs. So inputs can be delayed. This is the nomenclature for FPGA. Typically for Xilinx FPGA. Let's say, suppose if you are ordering a particular FPGA, like example XC2S50-6 PQ208C. So this is a long name of the FPGA. Then you might be like, we don't have like 8051 simply 8051 8089C51 means Atmel 89C51 C series, S series, that will be decide your CMOS technology, or S series with flash technology. So that very simple, but here little bit long name, and each and every character has certain meaning for this. So XC2S50 is the device type. Then speed, whether -6, -4, this is the speed grade will decide. Then PQ is a package type. 208 is the number of pins, and C stands for temperature range. Okay, so let's say device is XC2S15, 2S30, 50 like that, and speed grade is -4 standard performance. -6 is a high performance. Again, -4 is also there, initial initially when Xilinx has come up, it come up with -4, -5, and today the -6. This is speed grade. If you want to high performance FPGA, then that goes to the -6. Number of pins and package like 100 pin package, thin TQFP package, or maybe the ball grid array package, then QFP package. Generally, either TQFP or BGA package only. There is no SMD, there is no PLCC kind of packages are available, or DIP packages. All FPGAs generally are available in TQFP or BGA kind of packages. C stands for commercial and temperature ranges are either commercial temperature range or industrial grade temperature range. So whenever you see you are using FPGA, please try to correlate your FPGA with this number. Then probably you'll be understand whether this FPGA is for industrial grade FPGA, or this FPGA is for commercial grade FPGA, or high performance FPGA, or standard performance FPGA, as well as package. The package will decide for your soldering and PCB manufacturing. Today's advanced FPGAs have additional components like not only the CLBs, slices, and BRAMs or IOs building blocks, but there are some SRAMs also, RAM blocks are also. Dedicated multipliers they are giving 64-bit by 16 by 4 multipliers, like dedicated multipliers, because most of the application demands signal processing and video processing application that MAC units is required, multiply and accumulate units. So dedicated MAC units are also available in FPGAs. Those are working in parallel. In one machine cycle, all the multiplication and accumulation happens. Some tri-state buffers are there, trans receivers, soft processor cores are also coming. Like, don't surprise, in FPGAs 8051 core is coming. In FPGAs there are DSP core is also coming. DSP blocks are also coming. In FPGAs, today's FPGAs, there is even they are putting some wireless communication blocks are also are coming in FPGAs. So today's FPGAs is more advanced. Again, they are going towards hybrid approach for network processor FPGA. This is image processing FPGA. This is again video processing FPGA. So that FPGA performance is best for that particular type of application. So advanced FPGAs now, again, the application specific FPGAs are coming. So this is some advanced Altera's diagram, and this is Xilinx diagram. So what they are having, FIFOs, RAM, multipliers, register, adders. But in Altera, you say there is a adders, summation unit, add accumulate circuit that I was talking about, the MAC circuits. You know, so this is internal diagram for the Altera and Xilinx FPGA, as well as multipliers, 18-bit by 18-bit multiplier. So 18-bit by 18-bit multiplier means you can do in one machine cycle 18-bit by 18-bit multiplication. See the 8051. Can you do the 8-bit microcontroller 18-bit by 18-bit multiplication in one machine cycle? Even multiplication cannot be basic building blocks in microcontrollers. Most of the low-end microcontrollers, it takes a lot of machine cycles. If it's a 8-bit, then it is doing in a one machine cycle 8-bit addition. See, two machine cycle. But FPGA, you can say 18-bit by 18-bit multiplier that can be configured as a half precision 32-bit by 32-bit even, right? Or 16-bit by 16-bit, depending upon your half precision or single precision or double precision. And 64-bit even 64 by 64-bit in one machine cycle. This is very much possible because you can define your number of bits to be performed, number of operations to be performed in one machine cycle. That is not possible in simple microcontrollers. And the processor core, what that I was talking to you, which are the processor cores are generally available in FPGAs, like hard processor cores are like Xilinx, IBM Power PCs are coming, Vertex 2 Pro. After Vertex 2 Pro, Vertex 6, up to Vertex 6, if you find there is a IBM Power PCs is coming inside the FPGA as a soft processing core, as well as ARM9 core also coming. In Altera has ARM9 core. There is no need to connect separate ARM processor. It is coming along with the FPGA. So in a Altera architecture. Xilinx MicroBlaze kind of in Spartan family and Vertex family, you can find MicroBlaze or PicoBlaze kind of processor is coming. But in Altera Neos family, Neos 32 is coming in Flex and Cyclone or Statics family. Neos 32-bit processor is coming. So short processor cores are coming. This is called as the IP cores, right? This is called as the IP cores. Sometimes then why not use the one say that I want a video processing core where some video processing algorithms, filtrations and segmentations and all these algorithms should be happen in a one core. I don't want to write a program for this. You can purchase the IP cores for your FPGAs as well. The soft cores are coming. You can purchase. Some of the cores are IP cores are not easily available. You can purchase that IP cores from that Xilinx or Altera, and you can put it into the your FPGA directly. You can put it on FPGA. So these are very high performance cores are available, but most of the cores are not free. So you also design also think of everything should not be write a program. You can ask for Xilinx that I want my application is like this. Can the IP core sub cores are available? Yes, they can probably give you the sub cores. Some cores are free available. Some cores are you have to purchase for this. Okay. So this is possible in advanced architecture. Now let us come to the programming technologies. FPGAs are available in different ways of technologies like one-time programmable or reprogrammable kind of. So in a one-time programmable, uses the fuses which destroy the internal links with current. So generally one-time programmable people are not preferring. This is called as the OTP version of FPGA. Similar like OTP versions of microcontrollers. There are OTP versions of FPGAs are also available. But reprogrammable structures generally people are preferring. So Xilinx and Altera both are coming with the EEPROM and E2PROM with the flash and SRAM. SRAM is very popular technology of the RAM inside the FPGAs. Now, which are the programming language are available for FPGA programming? So hardware, generally they are preparing with a hardware description language that is called as the SDL language for programming. It's not a simple way of conventional C. Of course, conventional C cannot be used for FPGA programming because it is a sequential where we can go for abstraction level or hardware level of language to express the computation at the behavior or RTL or structure or even device specific level. VSDL, Verilog, System C, Handle C are the popular SDL languages. So probably most of you might be use VSDL and Verilog. There are System C, Handle C as well. So there are many other languages, but these are the very popular languages. We teach VSDL. VSDL is very basic level language. It is very hardware specific language. Verilog little bit towards the C kind of structure, but still it is a hardware specific modules and all these things are there. In the C functions are there. Here there is a modules are there. And System C and Handle C, these are also, this is System C and Handle C. This is a C language, but it's a hardware specific C languages. VSDL and Verilogs are used for structural behavior and RTL level of synthesis. System C and C++ based library mainly used for modeling system level behavior compared to the VSDL and Verilog. Software processors are easily modeled in a System C. So the IP cores and the soft cores are available. They are generally coming with the System C. Handle C follows the communication sequential processor CSP model, and it requires designers to explicitly delineate parallel processing blocks within the process. So C language where parallelism can be explored. C language where parallelism can be explored, that is a Handle C. You can Google it out and you can see that how the Handle C works, and Handle C compilers are also available for FPGA. And these are the standard compilers. You should be aware about these compilers. Those are working in this area, they should know about these compilers. So Xilinx has its own compiler, but there are other compilers as well. Like Prism compiler by Athenas was the first hardware compiler using sequential C. NEPA C, graph C, Handle C was used as the first parallel C compiler, and DBC compiler used to configure FPGA as SIMD parallel processor. Stream C, SAC, MATLAB compiler also available for the pre-built IP cores. This is for the pre-built IP cores. System generator was the tool generally used for the MATLAB for the simulation for the FPGA. But these are the pre-built IP cores only. Not everything can be possible. And this is a general design flow. The purpose of flow level design is to pass the structure code through the CAD tools, and that ultimately generates the FPGA configuration bit stream. Our conventional design flow for microcontrollers, like we open the IDE, and then in IDE integrated development environment where we write our C program, you include the header file, we include all your input output files, and then we compile this. After compilation is successful, it generates the .hex file. That's it. But here the design flow is little bit different. So now you know the application, then you can go with the RTL or structural specifications. So you can say that what we call as the RTL level design. Right? Then logic synthesis. So each synthesis the logic, it maps your hardware for a specific logic, and then logic placement happens. Then you can go for the routing, how you route your signals, and finally bit stream get generated. So these are the what are the tools you use. Either you use Altera tool or whether you use Xilinx tool. Every tool has the synthesis and mapping and routing and then bit generation. This is the general flow of any CAD tool. Now, as I told you, the software compilers and everything for FPGAs and what exactly the FPGA and how is a part of your reconfigurable computing, you should be know about what are the tools and resources for the FPGA-based design. What are the CAD tools are available? So there are certain simulation tools are available, which features of simulation tool like provides debug and analysis environment, which handles all various system C models. Some simulation tools also provides assertions like ASIC level verifications and provides detailed timing analysis as well. So system generator generally is very famous with the it's coming along with the MATLAB. That is a simulation tool. Most of we already have used that system generator. If not, please go and see that in a Simulink there is a system generator block is available, which is generally it is Xilinx Spartan 3 or Spartan 6 kind of architecture. It is available. Along with that, there is a active SDL, which is from the Aldec. This is another system, another simulation tool is available. Support text, schematic entry, or state machine entry, machine level entry, state diagrams, and even you can enter the state diagrams for the active SDL. Which supports VSDL, Verilog, System C, and MATLAB Simulink as well, and supports almost all FPGA vendors. So active SDL can support Xilinx, can support your Altera, both the things, as well as Model Sim is there. Model Sim is from the Mentor Graphics. So Mentor Graphics is another vendor which is very popular for the this CAD tools. Supports debug environment for VSDL, Verilog, System C. Supports both ASIC as well as FPGA design and RTL as well as gate level simulation. And it also supports most of the FPGA vendors. So on the top of that, like active SDL from Aldec, Model Sim for Mentor Graphics, there are another tools also, Smash from Dolphin integration, Speed Sim from the Cadence, as well as Superfin from the Fintronics, VCS from Synopsys, or Verilog Excel from the Cadence, and MP-Sim from the Exim Design. So Cadence, Synopsys, Mentor Graphics, Aldec, these are the very popular companies in the RC reconfigure computing and FPGA-based designs. The features of these synthesis tools that interpret your RTL code, what is the RTL design that also interprets, then produce synthesized circuit netlist in the standard EDIA format, give preliminary performance estimates, and some can display the schematics corresponding to the EDIF netlist. You generate the netlist, it generates the routing files, and display your schematic as well in EDIF netlist. So this EDIF and these are all the ready netlist available for your IC manufacturing kind of thing, right? So this is the most popular synthesis tools are available: Synopsys, Actel, Xilinx, Altera, KitLogic. So these are the companies which is used for the FPGAs. So synthesis and implementation tools like from Xilinx, you say the ISC Foundation. This is the Webpack, ISC Webpack we can call as. Also Xilinx use the Vivado. You might be aware about this Z-board and all these things for which they have now introduced the Vivado software. Then there is an embedded development kit also. If you want to synthesize the IP cores, then this is go for the embedded development core. Quartus 2 is from the Altera. This is the development software from the Altera. Then QC system integration tool. Nuos, Libero is from the Actel, then Quick Logic is from the Quick Logic, Simplify Pro from the Synopsys, and Leonardo is from the Mentor Graphics. So please, if you want to really work, these are the vendors which manufactures the FPGA, and these are the development softwares. Like ISC, we are very popular for this, but Leonardo is from the Mentor Graphics and Simplify Pro from the Synopsys. So these are the softwares where you can write your programs. And there are certain open source simulators are also available, like iCarry is very log, which is very later, very well, see where. These are the open source simulators. The previous simulators what I shown to you, these are not the open source, these simulators, but these are the open source simulators. And so that you can download, which is the free versions are available, but not that level of optimization. And some timing analysis tools are also available, GTK Wave, Waver, NWave, Trace. This is the timing analysis tools that will be good. The timing trace of your algorithm, what you're running. And this is the popular FPGA families. Zinc 7000 series from the Z-board, which is ARM9 SoC also available. Average gate count is given. RTX, Kintex from the Xilinx, Vertex 7, Vertex 6. Nowadays, Z-board, Zinc 7000 series is very popular. And some application they are using also Kintex and RTX. But this Vertex Pro Spartan 3, this is a little bit older one. So probably most of you are already using the Z board and Zinc. Ping board as well. Ping board is also another version of where ARM software is there. And from the Altera, Stratix 5, Stratix 4, these are the latest one. It is started from the Cyclone 3, Cyclone 4, Cyclone 5. Now people are going for the Stratix 4, Stratix 5. And this is from the Actel, Smart Fusion 2, Smart Fusion. These are the FPGAs. IG Loop, this is also FPGA from the Actel series. So that's it from my side. These are the references. So you can just refer this. Now I'm going to pass this presentation to organizer. So you can just visit these references. You'll get all the information from the references what I have referred. So I would like to thank to my PhD students. Those have helped me to prepare this presentation. Those are working on reconfigurable computing and FPGA-based design. Dr. Vaishali Patnaik. I would like to also thank my research scholars. I would like to thank my college and my institute administration for allowing me to give this talk. As of course, thanks to organizers, FDP from organizing this FDP, IET Agra, and thanks to all the participants who have patiently listened this talk. So thank you so much. So I'll be happy to take your questions.
So if anyone is having any questions, so one can write, or I am allowing them to unmute themselves. So if you want to ask, then you can unmute yourself.
Dr. Vasudha ma'am is asking one question. Professor Naman, is this question is visible to you?
Yes, sir. Sir, the question.
SRAM or SRAM, which one is suitable for violet memory? Violet memory, what does it mean by violet memory? What does it mean by violet memory? You can unmute Dr. Vasudha.
So sorry, it is volatile memory, not violet. Sorry, spelling mistake it is.
Is not properly audible, ma'am.
Whether we consider for the DRAM or the SRAM when we are using for the volatile memory design or the non-volatile memory design.
Non-volatile. Okay. Non-volatile is kind of so. Non-volatile kind of, see, definitely we are going for the SRAM kind of application, right? Of course, it's very suitable for that, not the DRAM. Any other questions, please?
So if anyone else want to ask any questions, so one can ask, or else you can just mail me your query. I will definitely forward your query to sir. So sir, if there will be any later on, then definitely I will send it to you.
Hello, Naman, I'm not audible.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah, its voice is
One
in
second.
between breaking. No problem, Naman.
So, sir, I'm just saying that if there will be any query later on, then I will definitely mail to you.
Is I audible, Naman? Professor Naman?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, exactly. Please go ahead. What you are saying?
Sir, I'm saying that if there will be any query later on, then I will definitely mail to you, sir.
Sure, sure, sure. I will be very happy to give the answer of your queries.
Yes, sir.
Please email me. My
Yes, sir.
email ID is with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
So thank you very much, sir, for giving a step-to-step guide or guidance on implementation of embedded system design using field programmable gate arrays. So definitely one will get an idea how to design embedded system with the help of FPGAs, and also it is a backbone of IoT. So they can design their own embedded system, and it will be helpful to them in the field of IoT also. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your kind lecture.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk in front of these all the August people, so that I'm very happy to answer your queries as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Should I disconnect?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can. So all the participants, the next session will be from 2 onwards. So till then, you can just disconnect from now. So from 2 onwards, we have 2 more sessions for today. So kindly connect on time and attend all the sessions, remaining sessions. All there are 4 remaining sessions. So kindly attend all of them. Okay. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.